6. The title is A Mercy-Laden Life. A Mercy-Laden Life in Hosea 6. You know, if we talk about mercy, mercy is something I was just thinking about this week. Mercy is not getting what we deserve. That's mercy. So if we did something and then God paid for it, we don't get the outcome we deserve. Like a lot of us deserve to be in prison right now. We deserve it, but we didn't get it. That's mercy. And so we talk about a mercy-laden life. It's really not holding a resentment, not holding something against other people, but really showing the gospel of Jesus Christ, because it's our burden. That's what laden means, our burden for other people. In Hosea, the scriptures in Hosea is interesting. Hosea, I would encourage everybody to read Hosea. Hosea is an amazing book. It's about the prophet Hosea, who marries a prostitute named Gomer. And Gomer, his wife, ends up going back to her old profession, ends up going back to prostitution. And God told Hosea, the prophet, to go chase her down, to go find her and bring her back with you. And it signifies Israel walking away and leaving God to go pursue other gods, committing adultery against God himself. So Hosea goes, finds Gomer, and Gomer has another child. Gomer got pregnant during her time as a prostitute, and God says, now you adopt the child. You take the child as your own. Take Gomer as your wife again. And it signifies God bringing Israel back and adopting Israel into himself, and not holding all of those things they did wrong against Israel, and being a part of the life of that child, being a part of the life of that people. And that's what mercy should be. In Hosea 6:6, there's something amazing happens here. It says, for I desire mercy, not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. This is God's, through Hosea, saying, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. He desires a merciful people who will adopt that child, who will seek that prostitute woman, who will take her back as your wife, to seek mercy, not religious atmosphere, not religious doctrine, not dogma. Not these kinds of things in their life where it holds people down and holds people captives and keeps resentment against people, but mercy, not giving them what they deserve. This gives us a powerful picture of what God truly desires for his people. See, Israel had become very religious, and their hearts have drifted. They become very religious people, and their heart has drifted away from mercy and love of people. They continued to offer sacrifices. They attended religious duties and maintained appearances of worship, but their lives did not reflect love for God and the obedience to his word. They did all the outward appearances. They had all the religious things. They came to temple. They made sacrifices. They did all these things, but their heart did not reflect what they were doing. And God said, I desire mercy over sacrifices. The problem was that people were performing religious acts while their heart remained far from him. God never has been satisfied with empty religion. Empty religion, let's not be religious people anymore. Let's just take that out of our vocabulary. I hear that all the time. Oh, I'm not very religious. Well, I'm not either. Religion is doing the same thing over again. It's religious is we religiously go make these sacrifices. We religiously get up and go to temple. We religiously do all of these things over and over again. But God truly desires for our heart to change towards him, to have that relationship with Jesus Christ. And if we have that relationship with Jesus Christ, our lives are changed by the cause of Christ, by the Spirit of God. Our life becomes something different than just religious. See, all these religious leaders of this time were just maintaining the religious activities, but not maintaining a relationship with God. And God says, I desire mercy over all these sacrifices. I desire mercy over all these things that you're doing, over all these things you're saying. You can hold people accountable to the words. You can spout these words all day long. But if these words don't change your life, if these words don't mean anything to you, and if you're using these words to hold down or oppress other people, then you're just a bunch of religious people. And I don't desire religion. I desire a relationship. I desire mercy to people. And for the believers today, this remains important. We can attend church. We can sing songs. We can give offerings. We can read our Bibles and perform religious duties while failing to walk in genuine relationship with God. We can continue doing all these things all day long, but if it doesn't change us, then it's just a religious act and it doesn't amount to much. And that's what God is really arguing with Hosea against. I desire mercy much more than I do all these religious acts. I desire a life-changing walk with me much more than all these religious movements, all these songs you're singing and don't mean, all these times you read the word and don't apply it, all of these things in your life that don't mean anything to you. I tell you what means more to me is what God says. The mercy towards people. So the question is not simply, are we religious? The question is, does our religion with God affect the way we live? Does our personal relationship with God affect us? That changes me and the way I look at people and the way I live. Because we can use religion to affect other people, to control and to bash other people. But if that religion does not affect me, then it's pointless. Because that religion should have that kind of effect on me where I have mercy and I have love and I have caring and I have compassion upon others. And that too shows the grace of God to somebody. That's what changes people's lives, not our religious movement, not our religious activities, but our relationship with God, how it affects me. That relationship with my wife, it's because of the relationship I have with Jesus Christ, and I'm able to affect those things with her. That I'm able to be a man of mercy and a man of grace and try to be the best husband I can be. Not to change her, but to change me and letting her see Jesus in me. It's the same thing with your children. It's the same thing with your coworkers. It's the same thing with everybody else in our life. If we allow the gospel to change us instead of pointing out other people's faults and problems and having the religion change them, then we are finding mercy. And we're having a mercy-laden life, having a part of our life that becomes a burden to us, that we want to be a burden for people and have a burden for the lost, because of having a burden for the lost means I see them. See, if you don't have a burden for the lost, you're overlooking people. And that's what happens so many times. We become prideful, ego, or we just become resentful, or we become downright almost evil. To look at people's faults and problems and say they're the problem, instead of saying I'm the problem. And I want my life to change accordingly to the gospel of Jesus Christ. And if I'm going to have a mercy-laden life, because God desires mercy over sacrifice, He desires these things for us to change. God desires more than outward religious activities. He desires much more than just that hour on Sunday morning, that hour on Wednesday. He desires a heart that knows Him and a life that reflects His mercy. Let our lives be changed for mercifulness. Let us become that mercy-laden people that want people's lives to change. So the first point is, a mercy-laden life begins with knowing God. A mercy-laden life begins with knowing God. Hosea 6:6, the second part, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. My desire, he says, is not sacrifice. It's mercy, not sacrifice. And knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. He wants us to know Him more than we know religious activities. He wants us to know Him deeply more than our religious rhetoric. He wants us to know Him on an intimate level. And this is God's desire for the people. Remember Hosea, he's looking for his wife who committed adultery. He's looking for his wife that went back to her whole job as a prostitute. And he's seeking, and he's finding all these men that are making profit off his wife. And he's seeking and trying to find his wife to bring her back home, to let her know how much he loves her. And he's desiring mercy for his wife, and he's showing the knowledge of God because he wants to bring her back, not bash her for what she's been doing. The foundation of a mercy-laden life is not simply knowing about God. See, the world knows about God. The Bible is the number one bestseller. It's the King James Bible is the number one bestseller of all time on all the books charts. They don't even post that no more because it's just every week is the King James Bible. The second is the NIV Bible. So people around the world know about God. They know about who He is. They know about God, that he exists, or that people believe in him. They know about church. They know all of these things. But just knowing doesn't change you. When we accept and we fall on the grace of Jesus Christ and we become a part of his life, that's begin to know God. That's relational. See, Israel had knowledge of religious practices. Israel had knowledge of who God is, but they neglected genuine fellowship. They neglected fellowship with each other. They neglected fellowship with God, and they neglected all the things that God had desired for them. So religious knowledge is not the same as knowing God. A person can know Bible stories without knowing God of the Bible. A person can know doctrine without loving the one who gave us that doctrine. A person can attend church for years and still have an unconverted heart. People can come to church for years and years and years from childhood on up because it's a religious practice. We always went to church this time. And my parents took me, and my grandparents took me, and we went to church constantly. And they can grow up in church. They can be old people in church, but still not have a converted heart to know who Jesus Christ is. They experience the religion, but they never experience the relationship. See, knowing God changes our priorities. When we truly know God, we begin to desire what God desires. He says, I desire mercy. And when we know God, we begin to desire mercy. We begin to desire love. We begin to desire repentance. We begin to desire the gospel. We begin to desire more knowledge of him and wanting to grow deeper in love with God. This is what knowing God does. It changes us. And if anybody's unchanged, maybe they're just experiencing the religious. Maybe they're just showing up because it's that hour on Sunday, it's 10 o'clock on Sunday, it's time to go to church. Instead of taking this to heart and letting God change me. See, the love for people is God changing us. It's having mercy for people, not giving them what they deserve. Listen, that's what resentment's about. Resentment is they need to get what they deserve. And mercy is, no, I need to love them the way that Christ loves them. I want to give them that forgiveness. And in turn, get that forgiveness myself. I want them to know the love of Jesus Christ in spite of the things they did to me. In spite of the things they did to others. See, right now we're in a culture of finger pointing and a culture of blame and a culture that just holds everybody else accountable instead of holding each other or ourselves accountable. I tell you, who's the number one most accountable person in my life is not my wife. The number one most accountable person in my life is me. If I hold myself accountable for the things I say, the things I do, and the things I feel, then my life begins to change because I don't like those things. Now, if you ever got so sick of yourself, you get these hateful thoughts in your mind, and you're just, man, I'm really just sick of thinking. I'm really just sick of feeling this way. I'm really sick of holding this resentment in my life. I'm really sick of all this unforgiveness. I'm really sick of all these feelings I have. And you get disgusted with yourself. It's like when I was getting over drugs and alcohol, when I was my last drug use, I was so disgusted with myself that it destroyed me because I felt like a piece of crap and everybody around me. But when I held myself accountable to these things, my life began to change. I wasn't holding my dad accountable. I wasn't holding my mom accountable. I wasn't holding exes accountable. I wasn't holding everybody else accountable. I was looking at my life and saying, you know what? I'm the one that needs to change here. And Hosea's heart needed to change because his wife just left him to go back to prostitution. Now, if anybody can hold somebody accountable, how many here would say, and really bash her for a long time? You get on Facebook and say it. I know some of you. You get on Facebook and type and say, oh, that person there, instead of saying, you know what? God asked me to show mercy. God asked me to show love. And I don't want to. But when I look at the nature of Jesus Christ and I look at his love and I look at who he is, my life begins to change because God didn't hold me accountable for all the things I did. Instead, I'm able to hold up the cross and reflect on the face of Jesus Christ. And I begin to love what he loves. And we begin to see people differently. See, when our lives is changed by the gospel of Jesus Christ, we begin to see people differently. If you're here today and you're looking at people the same way you did 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or yesterday, you may need to ask yourself, am I looking at people through the lens of hatred and resentment, or am I looking at people through the eyes of mercy? Because we begin to see differently. Our resentments go down and our forgiveness goes up. And the closer we walk with Christ, the more character should become visible in us. Hosea, the closer he walked with God, the more visible God's character became in him. The more he sought for his wife Gomer, the more he looked for and finding her with another child that wasn't his. A little baby that was born in the act of prostitution. And God says, now you adopt that baby too. And Hosea didn't look at that baby and say, that's not my child. No, this is God's child. And finding mercy upon his wife and finding love in his heart for a little child. See, knowing God requires his word because we look at his word and we begin to see who he is. We cannot know God according to our own imagination. We're living in an imaginary world sometimes that God planted, that he didn't say the things he said, and he didn't mean the things the way that you're taking it. He looked at people's love and mercy, so much love and mercy that he died on the cross for us to show us that forgiveness, that he doesn't hold these things against you. That's what the cross signifies, that he's not holding this act against you. That he's not holding your lifestyle against you. That he's not holding all these things against you. That he's showing you true salvation through love and repentance. Through salvation through his mercy upon the cross of Jesus Christ and that grace that he shows upon your life right now. And right now, if you're feeling all that shame and guilt from your past life, I want to tell you that God loves you. He loves you so much that he died in your place and showed you that mercy upon the cross, that you may have a new life in Jesus Christ. That's what it means to know Jesus Christ. A life that knows God should become a life that looks more like Christ. A life that knows God should look like a life that knows Christ. There's a lot of people in this world right now that think they know God, that are saying all this rhetoric, that are saying all these scriptures, that are posting all these things, but their life doesn't look like Jesus. Because Jesus wouldn't do those things. Instead, he died with those things. That's love. That's mercy. And that's grace. A mercy-laden life values people over empty religion. Hosea 6:6, for I desire mercy and sacrifice. God was confronting Israel's empty religious practices. A sacrifice themselves were not sinful. God gave us sacrifices. He ordained sacrifices for us to have the sacrifice. In fact, he gave us the substitutionary sacrifice of Jesus on the cross. But God was not impressed by religious activities without obedience. Religious activities he is not impressed about because that's empty. It's an empty religion. An empty religion knows the things of God but doesn't know God. An empty religion continues all these practices of God but doesn't have God in their lives and in their hearts. With empty religion, it is impossible to sit in a pew without surrendering to Christ. True religion, true relationship knows Jesus. An empty religion sings songs without worshiping. We think about all the Christian songs we sing, all the music. It's not about the song. It's about our worship. We can know all the words to all the songs on 88.5. But if we're not worshiping God with those songs, they're just music. And it's really empty. God doesn't desire an empty religion. He desires a relationship. We can give offerings without giving of our hearts. Sometimes we give out of obligation without giving out of the abundance of our hearts. You know, when we give, the money in the basket, those kind of things, that's given to the church so we can continue this ministry. It's given to this church so we can have opportunities, so we can do the things that we want to do as far as sharing the gospel of God. But if you're just giving because everybody's looking at you, then you're not giving out of the abundance of your heart. You're just giving because you're being seen. It's when we give out of the abundance of our heart that we show the love of Jesus Christ in our giving. We can carry Bibles around without knowing its teachings. We can use it as a weapon. And religious people use the word as a weapon. Relational people use words to change me, to show mercy and love. A lot of people speak the Christian language without living a Christian life. Oh, we talk a good talk, don't we? People around this world are talking a bunch of stuff. They're taking scriptures out of context and making them apply to whatever they want to apply them to. Well, we can talk the talk. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty to love somebody, that's the problem. See, mercy reflects God's character. Mercy means showing compassion towards others who are hurting. Mercy means showing compassion and love to those who are unlovable. Mercy and compassion means showing somebody the dignity and respect of being a human being and loving them in spite of the things that they're doing. That's mercy, and that's grace of God. Biblical mercy does not ignore sin. We're not ignoring the sin in their life. And that's where the people get confused, especially when I talk about walking in the homosexuals. I'm not asking you to forgive sins in their life. I'm asking you to treat them like human beings that deserve the gospel of Jesus Christ. I'm asking you all to treat the homeless like they deserve the gospel of Jesus Christ, that they deserve the love that we have for them. It's the same thing with everybody in this room. I want to treat you like human beings who deserve to know who Jesus is. And we show them Jesus through the love that I have for you and we have for each other. And we show Jesus through the mercy we have in spite of the sins in your life, in spite of the things you're going through, that we love you in those things. Not love you when you change those things. That's the same mentality of going, I'm not going to the doctor till I get better. Oh, I have cancer, but I need to get over cancer so I can go to the cancer doctor. No, we're sick. And we're in need of a physician. It's not about ignoring sins. Instead, biblical mercy tells the truth while speaking the good of the sinner. It's speaking love into their hearts and into their minds and into their bodies and into their spirit. It's showing them that Jesus died for their sins. And if we believe that Jesus died for their sins, how can me, a simple man, hold those sins against someone? Instead of showing them love and compassion. See, that's the mercy-laden life. Laden, I'll tell you what laden means. It means to carry a burden or to carry a load. That's what it means. It means to carry something heavy for someone or to carry something heavy in life. If you are carrying a bundle of bricks, you are laden with bricks. You're laden with these heavy load in your life. And mercy is a heavy load. Mercy is something heavy that we should carry in our life. And love is something so big sometimes it becomes overwhelming. But if we have that kind of burden in our life, then we have a burden for mercy for people. In spite of where they're born, in spite of their sexual preferences, in spite of their drug addiction, in spite of their sins in their life, we carry those love for them. Too many times in people's lives do we not carry any of that stuff because it's too heavy and we don't want to carry it. It's so much easier to point fingers. It's so much easier to point blame. It's so much easier to tear people down than it is to love them up. And God says, I desire mercy over sacrifice. I desire you carry this burden with you of love, understanding, and mercy. And church, that's the gospel. That Jesus loved us, that he carried a burden for us. And the burden he carried was the cross on his back. When he walked up the mountain of Golgotha on Calvary, when he walked up that mountain, that was mercy that he carried, not just a bunch of wood. That was love that he carried up that hill. And then he died on the cross with it. And the gospel changes us to have that same kind of mercy. God says, I desire that. Hosea, going through all the things that he had, how easy to be to say, you know what, I don't want Gomer no more. She went back to her old lifestyle. She's a prostitute. She's been sleeping with other men. She had a baby with somebody else. I don't want her in my life no more because she's toxic. She's evil. But God says, no, love her. Mercy. Mercy. Mercy for her. And when he found her, he fell in love over again. And he took her to himself and showed her that kind of love that Jesus has for us on the cross of Calvary. This kind of application is found in how we treat people. How do we treat people? How do you treat a difficult person? Do you ignore them? I tell you what, I've been guilty of that too. I see them at Walmart. Ooh, I'll come back to that aisle later. It becomes difficult to deal with people. How about a person who has failed? We all have fallen short of the glory of God. We all have failed. How about that person that's relapsed? How do you treat them? Do you treat them like a pariah that is no longer welcome in your meetings, no longer welcome in your church, no longer welcome in your life? Or do you say, hey, would you come with me to church today? That's mercy and love. How about people who don't look like us? Don't act like us. They don't love like us. How do you treat them? With indignity and disrespect? Or do you invite them into your life and say, you know what? I have a burden for mercy. I have a burden for love. Will you come with me to church today? How about people that have wandered from God? How about a person who needs forgiveness? There's an old saying, everybody loves forgiveness until you have something to forgive. When it's on me, oh, I want you to forgive me. Oh, I did something wrong. My wife, I did something wrong and I want you to forgive me, but you did something wrong. No, everybody loves forgiveness until you have something to forgive. And it's time to forgive people. And it's time to show that kind of mercy and love upon someone that's harmed us. Our treatment of people often reveals more about our spiritual condition than our religious vocabulary. How we treat people shows how spiritual we really are. You can say you're spiritual all day long, but if we're treating people with disrespect, if we're treating people with hatred, and if we're treating people with so much indignant, then we don't know the love of Jesus Christ because we treated him terribly. They spat on him. They mocked him. They ridiculed him. They beat him. The crown of thorns on his head was a mocking of his divinity. They even put a sign above him that says, King of the Jews. Not to show everybody that he was King of the Jews, but to mock who he was. That's how we treated Jesus. And how did he treat us? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. That is the most merciful, impactful statement of the cross. Father, show mercy on them, for they know not what they do. If we truly received God's mercy, his mercy should be evident in our life. Mercy-Laden's life produced obedience, not just sacrifice. Hosea 6:6, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. God was calling Israel away from empty performances and towards a true relationship with him. God does not want us to merely do religious things. If you're just doing religious things because that's what you're supposed to do, then we're not letting those religious things change us. The gospel is to change us. He wants us to walk with him. Obedience is evidence of genuine faith. If we are obedient towards God, we have genuine faith that he exists, that he's real. James 2:17 teaches us that faith without works is dead. I want to be a better person. Not because I'm a better person, but because Jesus was a better person. I want to show more love, not because I know how to love, but because he loved me first. I want to show more mercy, not because I know how, but because he showed me mercy upon the cross and he said, Father, forgive him, for he doesn't know what he does. And obedience to God affects everyday life. A mercy-laden life is not limited to Sunday morning. It affects our homes, on how we treat our spouses, how we treat our children. It affects our workplaces, how we work, speak, and treat coworkers. It affects our churches, how we serve, forgive, encourage, and confront sin. It affects our communities, how we respond to people who are hurting and in need. And it affects our enemies, how we respond to someone who mistreats us. Mercy must flow from the gospel because Jesus is the gospel. And his mercy flowed upon us with his blood. God wants our obedience. He wants our hearts. He wants our worship. And he wants our lives. In our conclusion, Hosea 6:6 reminds us that God has never been interested in empty religion. He's not interested in us just doing stuff. He's interested for us changing stuff. For I desire mercy, not sacrifice, and the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. God desires people to genuinely know him and to know him through his mercy and through his grace. A mercy-laden life is not a life that earns God's favor, but a life that shows God's favor. We're not here to earn God's love. We're here to show God's love. And to show God's love, we do it through mercy and through his grace. Let's examine our lives. Are we simply performing religious duties by showing up today? Are we letting the gospel of Jesus Christ change us? Or does our life reflect the gospel? Does the things we say match up with the things we do? Do we show love as we would like to receive love ourselves? Do we offer mercy and forgiveness? Our challenge is, don't settle for a life full of religion activities. Don't just settle today for a life full of religious activities, religious rhetoric, religious vocabulary. Don't just settle for the things you see on TV. Don't just settle for the things on Facebook. Don't settle for those things. God is asking us to go deeper and go further. He's asking us to show mercy and love for everybody. Let the world see a transforming life. And let it start with you. Let it start with you this morning. If you want to see mercy, become merciful. If you want to see love, then show love. Because God desires these things much more than an empty religion. If I can get everyone to stand this morning.